Just a mic. Good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome to the show. Okay, good evening, good evening. We say it. Happy Sunday to welcome to this show. I'm Alfonso Z and Salt of the Library Public Radio and LPR-TV. This is your informative news magazine, The Examiner. It comes away here in a special edition. Most often right here on the Diaspora Informative News outlet. Today is the 24th of November 2024. Wow, we say welcome. If this is the first time, we say welcome in the house of LPR, the analyst. The link is out, and we'll be having a conversation here. And let's put this here. This is Samuel G. Koga of Nima County, the guy who led the insurrections on Capitol Hill, literally, with that of almost what we saw happening here. But well, folks, we're going to be coming today. We want to welcome you. I'm Alfonso Z and so this beautiful Sunday evening here from the New England Bureau of the Liberia Public Radio and LPR-TV. We will be having a conversation. We want to use this time here to have here. Give me one moment. Let me do a little bit housekeeping. I will be right back. We're going to have a conversation style learning process. We want to make it more or less participatory by you calling, so we get to understand what is going on and not just inserting our own personal feelings because of the partisanship we have, our loyalty to individuals, then our country, the rule of law. What is the actual understanding of all of us, or you per se? Maybe you have a different version, I have a different version. And I intend us to have this conversation here this evening. Hopefully, with that, we will get somewhere. So stay tuned, hold tight. Happy Sunday. This is the first time. Here we say you are wholeheartedly welcome. This is the Diaspora Informative News outlet, Library Public Radio. We intend not to leave no one behind. We make news fair, balanced, and proportionate. It doesn't matter which side you belong to. What the news is all about is to give everybody the opportunity to get their side, their versions, their understanding, the interpretations of issue, how it's being perceived. You look at both sides and ultimately make a good decision. That's what we intend to do, and that's what we will keep doing right here. Let's take this quick commercial break. Let me do a little bit quick housekeeping. And I will be right back. It's Sunday. Happy Sunday. Hopefully you had a very great time here this evening. I will be back. Don't go away.
Do you want to share your events with the world? Why not contact us? We are Liberia Public Radio, LPR. We are the specialists in advertisements, commercials, radio and TV services. We have the professionals that can help you sell your products and provide live coverage of all events, such as weddings, conventions, graduations, reunions, anniversaries, sports, birthdays, baby showers, religious activities, funerals, and many more. Take your phone right now and call any of the following numbers: 682-433-8802, 267-648-6089, 484-786-3337, or 916-533-2048. Our customer service representatives are waiting to take your calls and give you the needed assistance. It is LPR, the home of excellent media services, and your friends in business.
Okay, there you have it. That's our man, Manzola Gisi, the lover boy, right here on the Diaspora Informative News outlet like Republic Radio. So let me see here. Let me just add this on here and add to downloads, and let's see here. Why is it not strolling? Okay, I'm going to take care of that later on. So, folks, we're going to be having a conversation here this evening. Again, if this is the first time, we say you are wholeheartedly welcome. I'm Alfonso Zain, so to your lead angle right here on the Diaspora Informative News outlet. This is the Examiner. What are we about to examine? What is happening right in our country, right here, our own opinion, views, as we intend to express it here. And trust me, we will activate this line here. I want you to speak to these issues. Accept that, undo your feelings, your personal feelings, and let's kind of try to practicalize this sort of conversation this event and apply it to ourselves in real time life, literally to put it that way here. And part of that is to see to kind of take a look at what happens in Liberia. How do you feel as a Liberian? What do you think? Do you think it was the right process? Forget about asking for a job with COFA in the past or COCA or whatever it is. Let's put on that garment, that cap of Liberianization policy to see as to what I would want to make our country to grow. Or let's apply it in our own real-time life. How will you feel if somebody just talk down or look down upon you and say anything about you without you allowing the process, the due process? There are folks, people quick to be judgmental. You hear something about your friend, as soon as someone says it, you want to rush out there and get that person head off without you even finding out, wait a minute, is this what did my friend say about me? Or maybe you feel you get a friend that you so dearly confide in to say it, and you just jump to a judgment. Yes, it's true. That's what you say about me. So it's part of what is happening. And the politics of Liberia of late has not done us good because we all are in the tendency of protecting our own. If it is for you, then it should be. Even if it is wrong, you will put on that bold-faced cap to say no and make reference to us of what has happened yesterday, 2-3 years ago. We didn't act, we didn't say anything, nobody said anything. So you strongly believe it is your time. And that has been the words of these politicians. It is our time. Yesterday was this group of people time. It is our time. But has it helped us? What has that done to the country in itself? What I would call a political mutiny, modified type of what we saw here January 6th, was exactly what unfolded recently in the nation capital of Monrovia, Republic of Liberia. This building you see behind me here, which is the House of Elders, people with wise thought who look at things critically. There are people supposed to be there. But we, the Liberians, electors, are partly responsible for these things because we do not ask the questions, we do not, why these people even want to occupy these positions. And the media industry is a great component to all of the chaos that we are having, because the media in today's world has been polarized, and the media, folks, commentators, political gurus, talk show hosts, and the list goes on. They have managed to use their microphone, their skills, their talent, and projected themselves to intercede for you, because they feel that you do not have the ability to do it. And so they think sitting on these outlets and having these good words, well coordinated, put these words together, do their own research, and do whatever they can, and be very, very much persuasive to the argument. Make all sort of illustrations to bring the picture, the true sense of what they are saying into reality. And without you having a second thought, you agree to what they say, without you even asking the question to say, wait a minute, even though I support this person for representative, for this president here, but can I even, for God's sake, scratch your head and ask a question? What is his agenda? Because if you are unable to ask this question, the how, the when, then it makes it difficult. You will not get the answers that you need. So these media empires, they have been very strategic, because politicians knows exactly the airwaves controls the narrative. So they present their pictures, they create falsehood in the unknown, subliminal messages, make up things, and present them to you, coin it in the sense that it will resonate with you. And by the time it hit bomb, yes, and you begin to have a flashback on some of the bad things, and so based on that, you become more judgmental. If you personalize the issue, forgetting to know it's about a sovereign country and not necessarily to you. And that's bringing end to obeying, when media becomes a resistant force. So the media in today's world more or less has become a resistant force, instead making the news fair, balanced, and proportional to give all sides all to be heard. How will you feel when somebody just come to you and say you are wrong? Oh, this guy is a killer. It is the court. You have to go through a process. It is that process will vindicate you or convict you. But what we saw recently, sadly, in the West African state of the Republic of Liberia, and I strongly are proponents of the law, people who stand with the law. That's what I believe in. So this is the lead news from the front page. And you can see from all indications, the gentleman there, that's why you get, if the right thing is not happening. These people stage what I call a political mutiny. And that's one of the reasons he raised his left hand. This is how he want to drag that country, plunge it into a chaotic situation, because the left hand is always on the bad side of history. Whoever you saw on planet Earth taking oath and put his left hand up, is because they want to do it quickly, fastly, so that nobody can know to do it, and they want to do it quickly and fastly. So this whole thing here now, and some of us has argued it from day one, is on the head of Joseph Newman Boyka and the Unity Party. It is glaring from what we all know and see what is happening now. It was orchestrated, it was planned, and it was executed for the speaker, for this guy, Cohn. But let's do a little bit backtrack here. We say like America, Liberia, small America, we tend to, we profess to have this sort of like American style way of doing things. But we don't do it, we just brush it over and we say we do it. And that is bad. And what has happened, people have personalized this because of their own political affiliations or what the thing that is inside for them. So they give a different interpretation. Or years back, speakers were removed, and so it can happen. But guess what? I'm not a fan of Fanatic Kofa, and don't get me wrong, they have all right to argue their point why he should be removed. Our argument is it is a process, it's not an overnight. And I'm going to illustrate here this evening on some of the things that we are seeing in modern society, modern democracy. These guys, so-called group, renegade lawbreakers, not lawmakers, who abandoned the chambers, for God's sake. This is where they're supposed to be. That's what the law says, to stand and argue, even if you have anything against whoever is the leader of the house. Instead, they were financed by politicians, other actors who wanted to influence these conversations. And we're getting to know more of some of what is happening right now. But let's see here. What happens in October of 2023? We all witnessed it. If you don't witness this, courtesies of Major Keyboard International here, we saw an insider to one of their own, the guy who was recently nominated as the Attorney General, but because of the hala, he's back off. That sort of intra-party situation, maggots. Right? He is the one that led this fight. There's a Gay led the intra-party opposition to remove Speaker Calvin McCarthy. He made an announcement on CNN during the interview. But they didn't say because McCarthy, said so overnight, or certain group of congressional members decided to go to Washington Hotel or whatever hotel in the mornings, transporting them like a cargo, leaving from hotel, going from there to go back. And what is so interesting, bizarre in this thing, that this Unity Party government, we all slam and bash George Weah of bad things, and people, everyone speaking for the government, when the government should have a spokesperson, that is not, they are defy all of the conventional happenings that we thought that we see. But somehow I had a sort of apprehension because we know who they are. And we were going to come at this sort of point in time. And it was just a timing. I want my country to succeed. All of us want our country to succeed, because when a country does well, we all do well. You know how many financial pressures and burden being placed on you simply because our brothers and sisters of the mismanagement of the country, and see how our leaders make these decisions and nothing much is being done. They're investigating, or they're doing endless investigations. At the end of the day, they are heavily rewarded. So what I'm going to show to you here tonight, that's something most of you who are news freak, who watch news, watch keyboard other, you saw it, but maybe you didn't pay any attention, or you try to reconstruct it here and give Liberia on a different scenario. But this is how democracy works, and that's how it should be. There is no other way to tweet around that. But instead, we saw these renegade lawbreakers, as I said, abandoned their constitutional responsibilities and decide to operate outside of the chambers. Over a month, going up and down, we yet to know where their resources were coming from. If they are transparent, they need to tell. And sadly, especially there was issue, we saw money being displayed. And I've talked to one of these congressmen I represented, I've seen Congress, whatever I say. The LSCC, we don't know what this case, they have taken that case. So we intend not to leave behind. There are folks here who took side, and that is okay. But we're going to see today whether they are for the country or they are for these corrupt politicians who always come on these networks and give tons of excuses and try to remind all of the old days. It didn't happen on that side here. So He's joining me here from Saxton, Sacramento, is the liberal progressive, an outcast of the Liberty Party of Charles Walker Bronski. I don't know whether he will normally Kanga Lawrence or Musa Ability, but somehow, some way he's in between there. But managed to infiltrate the system and becomes a supporter of Joseph Newman Boycott. The two times president, former minister of agriculture, now the president of the Republic of Liberia, who made all of the promises. Same thing can be done, same thing are doing. So what are they saying now? Do they have the guts to speak? Let me bring in the liberal progressive of the Liberia Public Radio. Some saying Blaku Branto is based in Saxton, Sacramento, is here this evening. The liberal progressive.
Good evening, Mr. So. I hope I'm audible.
You are audible, and today is Sunday, and I hope you will be honest, not just only audible, but you will be honest and speak nothing but the truth, because this is the examiner. We are about to examine the analysts and everyone that intend to participate either by calling in or appearance on the Liberia Public Radio. Good to have you here. How was the Sunday? You start your turkey already?
Well, no, I'm gonna buy turkey on the day of Thanksgiving.
What are you talking about? What might you buy on the day of Thanksgiving?
Because if I buy it now, I will eat it before Thanksgiving.
You gotta discipline yourself, man.
Mr. So, please let's jump off of that what you call from total where I'm on the my trap catch me. I'm gonna wait for the meat day before I eat that meat. I beg you. I know in that thing that I buy today, that Thanksgiving, that I buy Thanksgiving on again.
Okay. Good to have you. I thought you were going to be butchering goats this time of turkey.
I'm trying to stay away from the goat business because you're too much involved into my goat business now. The whole world know that I get my goat.
Wait a minute. I hope I saw something from California on a local news animal advocacy. Every Saturday they see you slaughtering goat. The animal advocacy and they're not coming after you.
You know plenty.
Okay, so deliberate. I intend us to have different style of conversation. As you know, this network is all about not just only entertainment, but educate and create a sort of eye-opening on things, so that people will be able to make informed decision. I'm not sure you're going to agree with me, because you have a side in this whole thing here. You have a take, which is okay. And so you always sound ridiculous on this network, and you always stand your ground, which is okay, but we will not allow you guys to have your way. So we are, as you know, the Supreme Court of the Republic of Liberia now is asking these lawbreakers to renegade for whatever men to return to status quo. I was told, but I yet to verify. Most of them are having a lot of new cars and all of that. Now, where that money coming from, we don't know. Maybe you're going to tell us. I don't know who bought it, how they got that. You're going to let us know. But I know you watched the proceedings of the impeachment 2023 in October precisely of Speaker Calvin McCarthy. So what I'm going to do here, courtesy of the House, the argument, and I know this time around you on the side of the law with Kofi, because I don't know whether Kofi is your friend, whatever it is. So I want us to be more or less interactive here and see what happens here is comparable to see what is happening. But first of all, let me get your take here. We were arguing, we were talking this thing here, and pretty well when it comes to that, we were on the same page. The Supreme Court decision with respect to what is happening, what does that put this unity party government, and how you think President Joseph Newman Boycott, the old man, how is he processing this stuff?
Thank you very much, Mr. So. Let me just quickly disagree with your terminology being used here. He's the president of the Republic of Liberia. He's not an old man. He might be old in age, but in terms of leadership, the wisdom is more. And that's what we're calling him. So his name is His Excellency, President Joseph Nyimabwaka. The first thing first. In terms of the, as you know, I'm very anxious to be on here tonight because the discussion is very interesting. In terms of the Supreme Court letter or Supreme Court, it's not a ruling, it's a statement. For me, I'm not a lawyer, but I play one. So it's a statement asking everybody to hold to everything else. And those are things that we predicted the last time when we were out here, Mr. So. I predicted that the Supreme Court is going to step in. And I also said, without fear or favor of the president, who I still support, but I thought presenting the budget the way it went, I thought it was unfair and it was unconstitutional. However, according to Speaker Flanty Kofa filing, the president was exonerated. The president he clearly stated that the president did follow the rule. So I'm not going to hold the president on that anymore.
Who said that?
Speaker Kofa in his filing, he said the president submitted. He said the president submitted the budget to the to the officer in charge. And he said the fact that they thought they were in control, they seized the budget. So it was not anything I'm going to bring the president on. The president was exonerated by Mr. The Speaker Kofa himself. However, going back to the issue of the Supreme Court statement paper that they issued Saturday, asking the justice minister or the attorney for the government to step in and serve these people some papers. And in that paper, they clearly stated, go to start a call, go from the beginning, let's start all over, and come in Tuesday to come and make your case. Now, I'm going to predict again, as I predicted it last time. That budget process, the blue people running blue J, blue, WJ, blue, whatever the name is, running over there because of the budget. The Supreme Court had just put saying that Gary. In that, the Supreme Court just told everybody, don't do anything. The same thing I said the last time. You send the budget over, the Supreme Court going to come in and they're going to put hot to the budgetary process. And the Senate, and that's why they call them the wise House of Wise People. They, in their own wise mind, decided they will not do business as usual with the House of Representatives. Now, I'm not going to characterize them as being renegade because these are our brothers and sisters. They believe what they're doing is in the interest of.
You cannot tell me to edit my word. I'm entitled to my view.
You are, but I'm just saying what I will not say, Mr. So.
Okay.
If you want to bring it on this Sunday afternoon, bring it on. I'm ready. God is there, but with God safe to speak our mind. So I'm not afraid. I'm not here to make friends this evening. Now, as I said, I would not characterize them as being renegade or whatever it is. They are my brothers and sisters. They believe what they're doing is in the interest of Liberian people. I don't believe that. Now, Mr. So, the issue here is that the Supreme Court, I will predict very quickly that I believe they will rule in favor of Speaker Kofa. The interesting thing will be will the so-called majority black accept and respect the ruling. Most likely, they will say the Supreme Court has no business in our business, the lawmaking business, because we are a separate branch of government, and so we do our thing the way we feel to do it. Now, they have the right to say that. They can say that. However, the executive, this is where those of us that believe in this president, those of us that truly believe that this president is for the rule of law, who believe that because of him, Liberia will be improving immensely. He will uphold the law. He will not violate the ruling from the Supreme Court. And therefore, he will seize all business. All businesses are being done with this.
Why, in the first place, he decided to do business with them?
Because there was no law about it, no law stopping him from doing that. So
are you saying the president was unaware of what was going on?
It has nothing to do with it. It has nothing to do with it. The president, there was no law stopping him to deal with any member of the legislature he wants to deal with. You can't stop it. Now, until when if and only if the Supreme Court comes out and spelled out, then the president will say, okay, there is a block now. I will not go over that block.
So are you saying with all that was going on, the executive nominees were going to these renegade lawmakers who abandoned their constitutional responsibility? They were being transported like cargoes from one place to another place, leaving hotel and going. That was with the acquiescence of the president. Is that what you're saying? Because this president, we have Mo Ali, who were one of those that were accused, and other people. They have gone before those people to appear to them. So who is validating the arguments of these people? Not the is it fair to say the executive was in fact facilitating the behaviors of these lawmakers?
No.
Why were you want to pretend that was in the case when you know?
Those members of the executive that went over there, as the president correctly stated, he didn't know about it. And those
my goodness.
So will you please let me make my point? Since then, how many other ministers you see going over there? Since that became public, because the president didn't, most likely he has advised his people.
So he was sleeping, right? He doesn't know what was going on.
So I'm not going to characterize that either. I'm not going to go that far. All I can say is, and these are grown men and women that are working for the Republic of Liberia. Do you expect the president to police every minister? These are not babies. The president is not there to babysit these people. They will do stuff, and then when they get back to the president then will make his decision to say yay or nay. And in this case, he said nay. And you have not seen any other minister tracking themselves over to the majority bloc.
You want to repeat yourself? Maybe I didn't understand what you were saying.
Mr. So
you're telling me the old man, he doesn't know.
Why will you call him old man? Please, if you want this conversation to continue in a peaceful manner, let us stay away from those type of language. We're speaking about your honor, I mean, not your honor, but His Excellency, President Bakar. In fact, let me be ridiculous. His Excellency, President Dr. Bakar.
Okay. So, and that's exactly my talking point. You are one of those who always on this network with your guy, Jerry Bacon, always defend and protect the indefensible. You were here yesterday. We were all on George Weah of this sort of behavior. This guy came in and doing exactly or even more than what happens with his vice experience in government. That you know very well. You are very, very.
I would take exception to that. I would disagree with you on that, Mr. So. Vehemently disagree with you that the characteristic that you have over there about His Excellency President Bakar. President Bakar, first of all, President Bakar, you cannot compare President Bakar to that of President Weah. President Weah, in this time of his term, he was building houses all over the place. President Weah, at this time of his turn, you have the Imo Baka and the Igu Baka, whatever it is they said they're going to build, they was taking money right and left. And you have President Weah in his turn like this. You have the like of Munuba Mulu telling us exactly what the president is doing, the President Weah was doing. He's asking people, you bring money in, I get half, you take half, and what have you. So we heard that, we got a tape. So Mr. So for you to sit here, it's laughable for you to sit here this evening and try to compare oranges with apple. It is laughable.
So can you tell us some of the happenings with the Joseph Newman boycott, the inaugural morning, the 20-something million to administrative help, and the list goes on and on and on, and the chaotic situation from the Rose Garden or West Wing or whatever part of the executive mansion where it's taking place. Do you want to speak to that as well?
Not really. Not really. Not really. We got a pressing issue now, but I will hope we discuss that. I'm not here to talk about relitigate the election process. I'm not here to relitigate the past and what have you. Those are past situations. The president, if any issue, the president have people who can handle those kinds of things. I'm not here representing the president, by the way. I'm here speaking. I'm not here representing the president.
You are literally telling me he is not in charge. People are handling his affairs, correct?
No. Don't misquote me. I am saying that the president, besides being the president of the Republic of Liberia, he has people that are in charge of certain duties that he has assigned to do certain part, carry out a certain function within the government of the Republic of Liberia.
I don't understand why a certain president will help to create insurrection within his own government.
So that's a huge leaping you're doing this afternoon, and I will push back very strongly. The president did not, and I say again, in fact, Speaker Kofa, in his whatever petition to the Supreme Court of the Republic of Liberia, he exonerated the president of the Republic of Liberia when he said the president submitted the budget. If the way it's always been done, submitted the budget, and the budget was hijacked by the majority black. So why would you want to say that?
Liberal, Jesus. The budget was what? Hijacked? Let me bring
Yes. He said the budget was seized. I'm using my own language now. The budget, the Flanty language, budget was seized. Samson told language, budget was hijacked. So President Baka did not do anything wrong. So you can't sit here now and say that the president, he's involved in whatever debacle that is happening in the Capitol building. The president has nothing to do with it. The president is just doing his job as he was elected by the Liberian people to do his job. And that's exactly what he's doing. So, Mr. So, for you to say you want to wrap this thing,
this president here, I was thinking, Terry, but what you're saying is ridiculous. This president is, in fact, needs to answer to the Liberian people for constitutional neglect. He created a chaotic situation, purposely did it on purpose to create a chaos in the country, send the budgets to these hijackers.
Why will you make a statement like this?
You are letting us, give me a chance. You were talking, I didn't interrupt you. I am saying this president created a constitutional neglect, knowing fully well foreign soldiers were on his side, and like he threw this.
Why are you mixing things up that are not connected?
Okay,
why are you bringing these things up that are not connected?
Okay, give me a chance. I want to bring in Terry. I'm not lying. I'm not making nothing. And he decided to go visit. He go to an old school or whatever in Sierra Leone to go have fun time with Manabiu.
When you left from here, the last time I checked, when you went home, you went to the Toll Memorial Institute, your old school. When you left from here, the last time I checked, you went to Tutme High, your old school. The last time I checked, you visited LU. So, Mr. Soul, please stay away from the school and what have you. We don't want to touch those things. I'm not accusing you of visiting your old schools and what have you. Please, let us don't do that.
Okay, let's bring in Terry, the Reverend Terry, the political Reverend. Good evening, welcome.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, Mr. Soul and Liber.
Thank you. Terry.
Okay, so Terry, as you know, this is the examiner. Part of our responsibility here to create a conversation, let people see between day and night. I'm not going to be the laborer here who is always sending these sort of red meat because he wants to gain sort of attraction, protecting his own alligator. Good evening, welcome. This is the examiner. We are looking at the what is coming from out of the Supreme Court now, telling these lawbreakers, hey, return to status quo. You need to do it. But I'm going to be showing a video here that we started out the other day, but I'm going to show here how we feel that it could be you tomorrow. People shouldn't just say something and just run with it. But I know it's completely political, the actions of this president, and you put that into context. But this liberal yet to understand what is happening. He understands it, but on purpose, as usual, been politically correct here and play politics, as his guy Joseph Boyka is doing. But let me just bring you in here. What you make of this? What is coming from the Temple of Justice, the Supreme Court, and then we'll go to the video and see how it looks like.
Well, the Temple of Justice is doing well, and the court. Oh, where am I? Whoa, okay. The court are far. Oh gosh. Okay, there you go. I think the internet is tripping, but yeah. So the court issue a rate,
Maybe the
and that rate have not is not a.
Maybe the internet know you're getting ready to talk about, so it's getting ready for you.
Man, yeah, why not put his weird? Then he rather put something into it.
The court is doing what the court normally do. All right, you file a rate, and the court come in to tell you, say, oh yeah, this is what it is, and the court have not made a ruling. The court have not yet issued any ruling. The court is saying put a halt to everything. And everybody come, let us discuss it.
No. Finish a sentence. Push it a little bit farther, Terry. Put a halt to everything and go back to static quo, where it used to be like.
That's literally
but status quo.
What you are doing is illegal.
What?
The court does not have the authority to compel another branch to do to go back to status quo ante.
Yeah, but let me take you. Let me take you on now.
Hold on 1 second. I mean, you're going to be fighting everybody here. You sooner or later, when somebody tweet online here, you will jump there to go fight. Peter Mike Tyson, he got broke and decided to go fight Paul, so you get a 20 whatever, to be okay. So put on your glove. We're going to come to that. Terry, go ahead.
So the court is in error, from my view. From what I have been reading, the court does not have the right, according to constitutional proceeding, to compel another branch to return to status quo ante. The court does not have that particular authority. But again, in Liberia, those are the kind of things that can happen. So the court always usurp authority to carry on malfunction decisions that are not in the scope of the authority or jurisdictions. That is the same thing they have been doing. They have delayed the process of the the asset recovery team. They have refused to hear the case. They have prolonged them to be able to hinder the process of the assets recovery team. So the court have also made several blunders. All right, and even so what I expected the court to have done. The court should have again cited, like I said previously, in the first attempt that the court made by putting a prohibition on the majority black for breaking away from Speaker Kofa, filed the first injunction. So when the court ruled in that scenario, the court came and lifted up the prohibition because the court knew that they did not have the authority to put a stay order or a prohibition on the majority black for what they were doing. The court have done the same thing that they did previously, all right, which is not in anywhere I have been reading. I have not seen it anywhere I have been reading where the court have the power to compel another branch of government to go back to status quo ante. That is the reason why I doubt that the executive will be able to enforce what the court have said. Because it is the responsibility the executive to enforce the law, but the executive cannot enforce a law on a whole separate branch of government. But
so this sort of self-interpretation, the court can do this, the court can do. You only take the court decisions when the executive or when the government, which of course under the wing of the executive, for example, they sent Gloria Musu Scott after all of the accused. Where did they go? and they went to a court. But I'm going to illustrate to you what the court is saying. Return to starter court. The court believes in the due process. That's the message there. That's the key message there. The court is telling, yes, you have all right to do whatever you want to do, but your self-interpretation is far different. It's far different from what the law says. This is how, even when somebody killed, when Alfonso So is accused today to be a murderer by Terry or by the liberal progressive, which of course he able to enough to do that. You know why? By he saying it does not suggest I am a murderer. What the court going to do? The court going to allow you. So let's do some little bit illustrations exactly in my own view, opinion, and which seems to be correct. What the court is telling your guys at the Capitol buildings, plan being carefully orchestrated by Joseph Boyka and the Unity Party people for political purposes. Now, in October of 2023, precisely, an intra-party guy, Matt Gaetz, came up and said Speaker Kevin McCarthy should be removed. And there's a process. That's no difference. Let's listen to this and see. It was the same thing that happened in Liberia.
Spending cuts, as the Speaker had committed to do in January, and it also included a host of other conservative fiscal reforms. Unfortunately, however, that unity and that commitment to significant year one cuts and spending reforms were discarded in the Failed Responsibility Act, as I call it, which passed overwhelmingly, once again, with a majority of Democrat votes, validating the concern many of us had in January. Many of us had begged the Speaker, pleaded with the Speaker repeatedly to utilize the debt ceiling to leverage spending cuts and reforms. But instead, he negotiated an unlimited increase to the debt ceiling through January of 25, as much as we can come together and gleefully spend through January of 25, with no significant wins for the American people in that FRA, or Failed Responsibility Act. But the Speaker then said that we would use appropriations. We would use appropriations to bring the fight and finally reduce our spending. He said the levels of the FRA were the ceiling and not the floor, and recommitted multiple times to go back to the 1.471 trillion that was the limit, save, grow levels, radically, historically, saving $100 billion and lowering the deficit this year under Republican majority from 2.2 trillion to 2.1 trillion. That's what we were asking the Republican House to do, to go to 2.1 trillion. Meanwhile, the Speaker had committed to bring a balanced budget vote to this floor, something that still has not happened, despite the work that's been done in our budget committee to mark it up and have it ready to come to the floor. He also promised that we would bring all 12 appropriation bills well before the September 30 fiscal deadline. We did not. We simply, as Republicans, needed the Speaker to cast the vision, request the support of the entire conference, all grow levels, except for 4 who wanted to go even further, to lead us.
Okay, let's pause this here. In my own, I'm going to be playing series. Why do you think that conversation was taking place, Liberal?
So if you want to compare that to Liberia's situation, what this guy is trying to say here, lay out the reason why they want the Speaker to be removed, because the Speaker has not been able to fulfill the Republican demand or the Republican mandate, whatever they want to call it. And they're saying that
you're not answering my question. I said, where do you think this conversation was taking place? We will come to the substance of the conversation.
From the Capitol building.
Okay.
So the speaker, and they're also accusing the Speaker of having Democratic votes to pass some bill or whatever it is. Similar situation in Liberia, where many of the majority black have accused the Speaker of taking side with the executive, And many of the people have accused the speaker of not allowing them to fully express themselves. Have also accused the speaker of taking being on they went farther than that, accusing the speaker of saying that the speaker is involved into businesses using it while he's speaker and he's doing business with the government of the Republic of Liberia. So those are the kinds of stuff that they're saying here, the comparison. But let me go back. Let me quickly go back to Terry. Terry, you have to do us a favor, because we respect you on the network, and the respect for you is still going to be there no matter what. But you have to do better than the way you did here tonight. Because if you're going to come here, you have some people they are just Liberians that are just as educated as you are. You can't come out here because you speak good English and you have it's a Siri all over the place. You think that people are going to just lay down, you walk them over. When will they say? Let me read this to you. Let me read this to you very quickly. It says here, the Supreme Court shall be the final arbiter of the constitutional issue. This what have happened. It is no longer a political issue. It is a constitutional issue because Speaker Kofa had asked the Supreme Court to say, I believe these people are violating certain aspect of the Constitution of the Republic of Liberia. Can you help and look into it? And if you look into it, if the situation, what I'm saying, what I'm accusing it of is not so, please state so. Because that's their job to interpret the law. So you cannot preempt to sit here to say, well, whatever, the Supreme Court have no right to meddle into the people. If they are talking constitutional, then who's supposed to interpret that? We're talking about people who say that Speaker.
Can I respond, Mr.
Yeah, you will. Who say?
I will allow your slaughter one another here tonight.
That's fine.
I love this here.
Speaker Kofa is accusing them of abusing the Constitution, of not carrying out the Constitution mandate, and therefore he ran to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is saying we haven't looked into it, and there might be merit in Speaker Kofa's petition, or there might not be no merit in Speaker Kofa's petition. What if the majority of black is doing? They're within the confines of the Constitution. We don't know that yet. But even if they come back and say, yes, indeed, Speaker Kofa has some point that these people are violating certain part of the Constitution, who else do you expect to interpret the Constitution, Terry? It's yours.
Okay, so quickly, Terry, before you come in here, he asked a consequential question, and I would love to see this one here. If I won't even mind waving this thing to over two of you to airport one another here, but he did ask a consequential question here. I want to validate that to see whether it is true. The Supreme Court, is it the final arbiter of the court process in Liberia?
Right.
Okay. Do you think this point more or less is no more political? Is we are heading to a constitutional crisis? Do you agree with that?
If the what?
Constitutional crisis. Do you
Yeah,
see what is happening now?
That is why Liberal just said, right? The Supreme Court have the power to interpret the law. They don't have the power to put an injunction on another branch of government by compelling them to return to status quo ante. And let me read this to you. All right. Let me read this to you. It says, the Supreme Court does not have the power to compel the legislature to go back to status quo ante.
What part of the Constitution is that?
No, that is an overview of lawyers and scholars who interpreting judicial stuff, you know. So it says, but it does have the power of judicial review to declare that a legislative act violates the Constitution. The Supreme Court established this power, and all of that. So the Supreme Court can declare that the legislature have violated. I'm not a lawyer, but I'm reading.
Do you think, you won't be a lawyer. Let's make you a lawyer here this evening. Do you think the rules in the first branch of government supersede constitutional violation?
That's what I'm saying. It's possible, but I don't know because it's possible that the rules that the rules, because you see, if you read further down here, it says that the Supreme Court have the right to protect the rights of all citizens by interpretation of the law.
Okay.
Interpreting the law doesn't give you the right to compel another branch of government to do what the law says.
So
That's not what the Constitution says.
okay.
So,
let
that
me
is
step,
interference. That is why if they tell the executive, if they compel certain court ante, all right, who going to enforce it? Is the executive? According to I think Article 3, no branch have the power to interfere in another branch affairs. That is why the executive is not going to listen to them. Because if the executive try to enforce what they are dictating, that means the executive is interfering in the rest of another branch of government.
That would be a very interesting scenario here. And this is what you guys do here. But I'm going to give this one to you. Going to have vote here because I don't think Liberal is in line with here that when the court decides, because the entire process was a fraudulent process. That's the reason of the that's the reason of a court to see, to observe in a judicial opinion that if Terry is not giving his day in court, it should be by law, not the self-interpretations of these crooks who hijacked the system, who abandoned their constitutional obligation and was staying, having a nice time in the hotel in and out, and out of the sudden move in one morning without them allowing the process. And that's the essence of it. But I think
let me just put this information before Labor come in. The Supreme Court's power of judicial review helps to ensure that each branch of government recognizes its own power limits. Okay. It also protects civil rights and liberties by striking down laws that violate the Constitution.
Okay, so then what are you saying now?
Yeah, but this is what I'm saying, that the power helps to reveal to the branches for them to recognize the limitation. Take for example, what I read, take for example, is saying to you that like what happened in the case of the executive branch. You look at a tenure position and you say you want to remove the people from the tenure position to bring in people. What the court said, the court interpreted the law to executive that they should not do that. But the executive did not listen to them. The executive went ahead and still did it. That is what it means
that is Joseph Boyka, right?
Yeah, Joseph Boyka, even Joria. But the executive,
I'm talking about why it's happening now. I'm not looking behind.
Yeah, I agree, but I also bring Joria inside because the sedition don't let to hear that one. They only let to hear Joseph Boyka. Then when you want to talk about Joseph, when you want to talk about, then they say no. That Joseph Boyka time. No, we will remind them about Joria time. What happened to Joria time too? So what happened was that the court revealed to us that what the decision by the executive branch to remove 10 new people from their position was illegal. That is what they revealed. That is the interpretation of the law. But they did not compel the executive to say, oh, we moved. If they do that, maybe they did it. But if they do that, it is interfering in the working function of another branch of government. That's my position.
Okay.
So
you want to come?
Yeah, of course. So Terry, thank you for once again exposing your ill-gotten wealth this afternoon, which is the knowledge of pretending to be a lawyer. You play one on TV, we will respect that. But let's know on a very serious note, Terry. The Supreme Court, you agree that it is the final arbiter of any constitutional issue in the Republic of Liberia. Okay. The Constitution says the House of Representatives must and shall be able to elect the speaker, the deputy speaker. They give a process in electing. The Constitution also, in that vein, express how a speaker should be removed. Agree?
Yes.
Okay. If that process that is that was mentioned in the Constitution, if that process is being violated in the mind of anybody who believes that the Constitution is not being followed, where do you expect these people to go to?
The Supreme Court.
So if they go to Supreme Court and the process that is creating the havoc, if the process is still ongoing and the Supreme Court has not made a ruling, do you expect, once the Supreme Court get the paper, do you expect for them to be mute until they make a ruling? Or the fight is, what did you say?
No, go ahead, Bobby.
Okay. So the fact that they are, once they get that petition and they decide to make a statement, not a ruling, to say, look, we are reviewing this situation here. In the meantime, we expect you to vacate, and I'm speaking lawyer term now, which is ridiculous because I'm an engineer, I'm not a lawyer, to vacate the issue that is creating the problem for which somebody has come to us, waking you up at night. You'll go back to all the position you were in before. We will review this, and they are not saying, Kofa, you're right. They are not accusing the majority black of being wrong either. But go back to your original position. And then they will look at from there, people will argue. That's why they're being invited to argue. They're not being invited to argue from the time they elected Rachel Coon. They will argue from the time they came up with the idea to remove Speaker Kofa by providing reason. So do you expect the Supreme Court to say, okay, you'll come and let's talk, and then we want to start from when you're elected Rachel Coon without us knowing what happened? How did we get there? Is that the kind of argument you want us to make? You want to make it? You want us to accept?
So,
Yeah,
it's unacceptable.
Additionally, let me add a little bit layer here. I enjoy what both of you guys doing. Let me add a little bit layer to this whole thing here. And very few people perhaps don't understand or on purpose decided to ignore it. The judicial process, the court system does not usually act on preemptive strike. The court doesn't. You know, oh, Terry won't harm me. How they are all about facts. If you went out there and say, oh, my landlord is trying to evict me, this and that, it's insufficient. That's circumstantial. It's insufficient. There's nothing to prove until the action or there is a legal document to prove. So what happens the other day, and people are going nuts, going crazy, oh, the Supreme Court have done that. Well, the Supreme Court is waiting to see whether the law will be violated, whether the system will be compromised, whether they're going to break the law. And part of that, where you see they were waiting, is when the other group, folks of Kofa, and Kofa, he knows better because he's a lawyer. You're not going to go to a Supreme Court with a preemptive strike, or the people are going to put money from that. How do you know? They are not being any action, nothing. Well, they were protesting. They were still trying to get their numbers. Perhaps when they get their numbers, they will go through the due process, which we watch here. The due process, they're supposed to hear the argument side from Kofa, that of their side. It's not just only resolutions. They're going to come in chambers. They're going to be in chambers. And Kofa people will stay where Kofa should be. And the other people are going to stay where, this guy, Kofa, should be removed. And at the end of the day, it is the clerk, the chief clerk of the court, which of course we don't have the clerk. The chief clerk now is sick. Well, the acting is there. And that person will become the presider. And there will be a vote either by yea or no. Now, the reason the Kofa people went is because they felt very well the law is already been violated. Not only that, they saw those guys coming in. What they did, they never hear Kofa's side, and which of course they've been saying, Kofa has not been saying he's not going to make, he said, a due process. He has not been given a chance. They have all right to accuse him. That did not happen. What did they do? They came hurriedly, wake up every early morning after eating, doing everything, jump in their vehicles, ran to chambers. The man who they bring him to be a speaker, he put his left hand up. That's how he even going to start creating chaos in our building there. That's the very first indication. Nothing. Oh, wait, he said, Thomas Fala, I'm not contesting, and so about that. By boom, hit a hammer and begin to induct people into office. At that point in time, it is glaring. It becomes more evident. It's no more circumstantial that it was more like constitutional issue, because a new speaker in India was being inducted into office. And the Supreme Court said, return to status quo, meaning the Supreme Court has nullified that your whole thing, what you were doing, you were on your own. You need to go back, and the right process, it must be introduced onto the floor, it must be argued, a vote will be taken, and not just say, oh, we get a number for the city, and that's a resolution. So besides resolutions, it has to be into vote. Go ahead.
Further, all Liberal said something, right? Liberal said the Supreme Court, have the right to just put a prohibition and order that without even listening to the case. You didn't even listen to the other side, the other branch of government side. You didn't hear their position. You just took an action to determine, compelling them, a whole branch of government, compelling them to return to status quo ante. What do you call status quo ante? What do you call status quo ante per the legislature? Now you leave the whole entire country vague. We don't know what you mean by status quo ante.
You don't know.
Because what is the status quo ante here when you have not even heard the case?
There's no case. There's no case. They did a fraudulent process, and that's
you can determine that because you have not heard the case. You cannot determine that because you have not heard the case, and you have not even heard the law that they used and the procedures that went on. So how before even you hear somebody complain, you have already made a decision as to what they're supposed to do, and more to that on an entire branch of government. How can you do that?
Cherry, what happens? Yeah, that's the work of the Supreme Court. When the Supreme Court when the judicial, I'm coming, you want to talk, because you said they don't need to hear it. They heard enough. By people coming without going through a process, there's a procedures involved in removing people.
But the complaint have not been discussed. It have not been investigated. The Supreme Court cannot run a decision by somebody complain. I go to the court and complain. The court will issue a writ to summon me to come to hear.
You know what?
The court cannot say, oh, yes, and you can say, oh, I was sitting in my office. I saw the way how they elected.
You know why they did what they did too? Because they have performed an action. Then that action was what they did is remove the speaker, and they are inducted another. That you cannot have two speakers in the country. Two speakers cannot occupy in the House of Representatives.
Yeah, but who determines that? Who determines that?
Who determines whether you got two speakers?
No. Who determines whether if they did not follow the rule according to the Constitution? And at the Supreme Court? The Supreme Court is supposed to interpret whether if the action that they carry on Thursday was legal or not. So until the Supreme Court have to make that decision whether if the action was illegal based upon the review of the complaint, the both sides, they got to hear the both sides. They can't just come out and say, you know what, go back to. So what is the status quo ante that is supposed to go back to?
I don't know how long. I don't know how you want me to explain.
So leave you and Anna.
Only you alone. Anna part of that.
You guys are saying the status quo ante.
Let me read this.
You guys are saying that the status quo ante is to go back and sit on the former speaker, Gabo. That's why you guys have determined already.
It's not necessarily to say it. In this process, the Supreme Court is a very unique, and the judiciary is a very unique institution. They don't go by our perceptions, how we feel. They don't go by our perception. Oh, this because this one it favor me, the high is supposed to be no. They go strictly by the books and what they are saying, and they have the right. If they feel anyone civil liberties are violated, and that's the essence of that. Because if they have not performed that action, the reason I say again, let me just repeat. Maybe I need to speak it in Crown. You can understand Crown?
Put it in Crown. I will get an interpreter.
But let me read.
Yeah, I will interpret it.
Let me read this. Let me read this. Let me read this here, and this is coming from another. Some. They said the Supreme Court, okay, cannot call status quo ante on any other branch of government, but it does have a severe power that limit the other branch of government. For example, it says here, the Supreme Court can declare that act by the legislative or executive branch violate the Constitution.
Yes.
Okay.
That's my point.
But that's what it's saying.
No, Terry, you're mixing it. All right, then don't confuse our audience here.
That's
So
exactly what
you're
they're
saying they don't have
saying.
the act. So in this case here, just what the liberal said, the act of them to removing the speaker
Yes.
is a violation of the Constitution. In this case, the Supreme Court supersedes to have enough of reason to say, hey, yes, you have the right to remove, but the method, the process, the procedure that was used to remove the speaker, that's not what the law says.
Is that what the Supreme Court said? Is that what it said?
It said go back to your to the previous. Let me read that. Let me read that.
Liberal reading is
no, but let me you're not catching with me. Let me read that again. Let me read that again. Okay. Why it cannot do this study, but it has a severe power. Okay.
You see the conjunction there? Severe power. Can you emphasize that word?
Can declare that act by the legislature, any act that they feel is unconstitutional.
Granted, that is what we call interpretation.
But they have not gotten there yet. And
but that's why I'm saying they did not have the right to compel a status quo ante without even hearing the case. You didn't hear the case. You hear nothing. One of the person, the victim, wrote a complaint to you. Immediately, upon receiving the complaint, you declare a status quo ante on another branch of government operation. That contravene the process of the Constitution itself that says you don't have the right to interfere with another branch of government activity. That is the reason why they will tell the Supreme Court on Tuesday that we will not honor your status quo ante.
Oh, no. In order for them to do that, the rule says, in order for them to say we don't want to listen to you, it has to be done by two-third majority. And they can't get that two-third. Let me read out also the point you're making. Okay, if they're gonna get to that, okay, the only direct way to override the interpretation is for two-third of both houses, of both houses to process their whatever it is. So that's the only way you're gonna say no, we don't agree with you. You can't just get up in the air and say, oh, you make that ruling, we don't agree with you. You have to have two-third. They don't have that two-third. That's why they can't keep fronting for cover. So Terry, you can see your problem. You can see your problem. Well, you're not the only both people around. They got other both people.
So I don't know.
The ruling have not come yet. The Supreme Court have not made a ruling.
Yeah, but you're saying when they make the ruling, the majority of black can come out and say we're not going to listen to you. And I'm saying to you, even if they don't want to listen, they have to have, in order to override the Supreme Court interpretation of the Constitution or whatever it is, and they don't agree with it, it has to be two-thirds.
So let me ask you. Let me ask you.
A beautiful point you just laid out.
Let me ask you something here, Terry, and I'm not sure what that is, but I know you said there's something here in the past about your personal self, and at the end of the day, people say this, blah blah blah. Without going into detail, where did you go? It went through the court process, right?
Right.
Yes, because it has become more or less, it was no longer circumstantial. It was something that the court needed to look at all of the way. So all of the things that were done based on predicated on that, the court felt that, hey, this guy wasn't treated right. What the court is saying, yes, the court did not close the window. Supreme Court did not close the window on it. All they are saying, because they watch, and they're not just, the court, it doesn't just go out there to see cases. Who came here in the court here yesterday? Who do this? You got to take a complaint. In this case here, a complaint was filed by COFA challenging the process, not necessarily why he was removed. You've been listening to him from time to time. He said, well, I want a due process. And that due process is to allow he willing to recuse himself. When he recused himself, that not just ought to his side going to be heard, but the other people going to argue, evidence going to be produced why they want to remove him. Even if there's a resolution, at the end of the day, ultimately, that resolution will climax with a vote. If you can't get that vote, you can remove him. Period.
Yeah, but Mr. So, that is from our view. Our view is not legislative view. Our view cannot determine that what the legislature did was wrong until it is clarified and interpreted by the Supreme Court. If the Supreme Court comes, so
why do you think the court tell them to return? If you are right, why the
but
court?
That's why I'm arguing to you now that the court is in error. That's why I'm arguing with you, and I'm arguing to you on the basis of facts, of information. Anytime in Liberia, our court, they always overstep the bar and step prohibition. Everything, somebody read prohibition. You have not even listened to the case. You putting prohibition on a majority of black of the entire House of
Representatives. There's nothing in the Constitution.
Crisis,
there's nothing called majority black. They created that word. They coined that word.
Okay, yeah, let's agree that they created the word. All right, but it is also in the Constitution itself that says that in Article 33 that a majority can form a quorum. So there is a word called majority in the House of Representatives. Yes. So they have their own rule. The Constitution gives them the power to do that. They have their own proceeding of how to carry it out. We just show a video of how the American legislature carry out the removal of their speaker. Does that apply to Liberia? Or should apply?
Of course, you have to. The case, both sides got to be heard. There was no vote. There was no vote. It's not just about collecting. Samuel Koga coming. Oh, we collect people in. Say, how can I? A sort of reckless way of addressing things. He the one that put him there to be judicial. Not just only removing the speaker. They have gone ahead and appointed committees here without then having their other colleagues to vote first of all to have the speaker removed. This is what the Supreme Court see in its totality. Look, your entire process that you carry on is a fraudulent process. That's not how it's supposed to be. You should know better than what you are doing. So when you do it the best way, when you do it a better way, then your decision, because that's what the court is telling you.
No, the court is not saying that.
Terry, I think you guys' argument should be, I think, for it to hold water. And I'm not a lawyer, but I've been reading some stuff here. And as you can tell, my tone is a little bit withering down. I think your argument, there was a case that happened immediately after the war here in the United States, the Civil War. And there was a corner that went to court. Now, if you guys can come out and start questioning, you said static code empty. Where?
Thank you.
Because the static code empty could mean from point A to point B, or point A to point D. You got C and B, B and C in between. Do we go from C to D, or do we go from A to C, or we go from C to B, B to C? So that could be the argument. But to say that they don't have the right, no, you can't say that. Let's
That's
just
my point.
No, but you can't say they don't have. They cannot.
No, okay, Liberal. Like what Mr. So said to Ebomina, my personal life that I explained here that happened to me. I was a regular citizen. All right. I was not in government. So the Supreme Court ruled in favor of the rights of the law and all of that. All right. Now, the legislature is a branch of government that the Constitution empower and told them to operate on their own laws. And the Constitution forbid any of the two branches of government from interfering into the legislature, rules, laws, and affairs. My position here is because of the constitutional provision for the legislature and for the three branches of government to not interfere in legislative rulings, they do still have the power. That's what you read, that the power of the judiciary can tell you that, yes, but after they have gone through the case and listened to both sides and evaluated, they can look at the majority black, or they can look at the proceeding that went on with Kuhn becoming the speaker. They can tell them that what you guys did is unconstitutional. And they can recommend to them that they should do it according to the law. That is their position. They can give a position statement on it, but they cannot compel them to say you are now mandated and compelled to go back and do it this way.
But yes, the thing. Even if what you're saying, let's give you what you're saying. Say, for example, what you're arguing. Say if it is right, fine. From now to Tuesday, if they're having to go to a section and calling Kuhn speaker and what have you, I don't believe the Supreme Court is going to cite them for contempt or anything like that. Number one.
You see why they will not do that?
Because I think if you go a little bit deeper in, and I'm a liberal, I evolve. If you go a little bit deeper into it, you can argue that perhaps you cannot and you should not put prohibition on another branch of government from that's a Supreme Court ruling which says I call it the NT, whatever it is that we're arguing here. Perhaps they went too far. Now, here's the issue here. Here's the issue now. The problem we're gonna have. The Supreme Court, if they're sincere, the most likely might come back Tuesday and say wrong choice of word. That is not our intent. This is what we meant. Let's start. Now they themselves going to put themselves anti something. Put their own system into previous position.
Put their foot in the mouth. Just say put their foot.
You know plenty. But on a very serious note, Terry, they're not going to do that. So I think you guys' argument, there should be no. From now to Tuesday, it's fine. Because if you try to wrap this thing around the Supreme Court, these are lawyers. Not only are they judges, these are lawyers.
I agree.
There's certain language in the Constitution that they can bring to justify what they have done. You can argue from now to Judgment Day, there might be, and most likely, a certain word that will justify their action. Now, I'm saying to you, they also, if the majority black want to come and embarrass these people, they will kick the can in the majority black, what so bad that the majority black would not even be able to stand up. Because they don't, first of all, from the start, they have the Constitution. It's not on their side. Now, what I think will happen, the Supreme Court most likely will still rule in favor of Franti Kofa. The bad thing now is they are the final arbiter of any constitutional crisis. So whatever decision they make, you can't go over Supreme Court. So if you say you're going to resist and say, I'm not going to abide by the Supreme Court ruling, because this is a different branch of government. When the Supreme Court said we're ruling based on constitutional issues, then the executive, once it's recognized, once it's clearly stated that their argument and their comment and their final decision is strictly based on Constitution. And I read to you here where the act of legislation can be prohibited by the Constitution. I mean, by the Supreme Court, based on constitutionality of their act. And I'm saying to you now, Terry, while we might quarrel with the anti-core, whatever it is, stuff like that, yes, if other people will say they don't have the right to do that, other people will, but I bet you there's certain language within that confines of the Constitution that allow them to do that. So let us get up with that. Let's see how far they're going to go on Tuesday. And the fact that... Here's the interesting thing. They did not mention the majority black. They did not mention the majority. What kinds of illegal behavior that Flantikofa put for? They didn't repeat Flantikofa illegal act that he crying for. They just left it broad and said, come and argue. So I think there's a room in there that the majority of black can make sense of it than to fight.
Okay, so let's go to our caller here. Elvis is on the line. But again, I think what the court has done to profile the entire happenings, leave rooms for both sides to either find a way out or go through the due process. The due process is there must be it's not just resolution, not to collect people's signature and say, oh, you will get a signature saying you say you don't want it. You do a letter to notarize, blah blah blah. But let's go to Evans.
Before ever coming, point of observation, Mr. So. Point of observation. One thing I noticed about this, everything that is happening in Liberia right now, I think those of us that like to study and like to read and like to learn, I think this whole process is teaching us a lot.
Yeah.
And I even though they're making too much noise out of it over there, or want to bring it to blow, but I think this is good for the country. To be honest with you, this is good for the country. I hope it's not just those of us in the diaspora that are actually engaging in each other on these kinds of conversations, but that the folks back home will also engage each other and learn the whole process. That's just a point of observation on this. Go ahead, Mr.
Okay, let's pick up call here.
I don't know why I'm being so civil with you tonight, though. I really don't understand that. Why am I being so nice to you tonight? For what reason?
Because you're a professional celebrity.
Yeah. Okay. All right, I agree. Me, I'm being so nice with Mr. So tonight. I don't know why, but anyway, Terry told me the reason. That's good enough.
Oh, I don't want to bring it on. Okay.
Israeli Donald Trump. He said, I don't want you to bring it on.
You care to your papi who creating chaos. Okay, let's hear Elvis. Elvis, good evening.
All right, Mr. So, thank you for taking my call. Hello to you, to Mr. To, and to Terry. And Terry, I think it's time to go to law school, brother. I think you really want to get into law and understand the minutia of it. It's not too late, you know. But let me say this. What provision in their rules or even in their law say that you can usurp the position of the speaker just by appointing another speaker without formally removing the sitting speaker? If you want to be a lawyer or you want to talk legalese, ask yourself that question. You can't defectively remove a speaker just by electing another speaker, and say we got a new speaker. That's not how it works. So even if you want to say the Supreme Court shouldn't be involved, that's not even true, because the government, you want to make the argument that these are separate branches of government and as such they shouldn't infringe on each other's operations. The government goes to the Supreme Court all the time and asks for them to make rulings, most of the time on their behalf. So are they influencing the Supreme Court? And when it should be separate? Of course not. So this thing that the Supreme Court is doing, they have all right to interpret the Constitution. I can read the Constitution and understand it one way. You could read it and understand it another way. The Supreme Court will interpret it and tell us what it actually means, and we both have to accept it. So this is not a position of the Supreme Court have no play, we want to play in this whole thing. After all, they're a separate branch of government. I think that's the wrong way to look at it. I think what's happening in Liberia is gangsterism, political gangsterism, We saw it with previous government when they think you're so entrenched in power, nobody can touch them. They start to slowly creep into dictatorship. And we know how that ends. President Boyka wants to have political hegemony in that country. He wants to have all branches of government under his wings. And when that happens, it will corrupt him absolutely. And you know what happens when people get corrupted by power. You know what other people do in to counter respond to those things. So I think he should look at this as a good thing for him. Let Fonati Kofa be there. Test your political chops. Use political methods to either get over with him or to collaborate with him. But if you try to strong arm and bully him out of the position, you are going to be looked at as undemocratic. And no matter how much that people are tired of conflict in that country, when you push them to the wall, they will bounce back on you. And we don't want that. That's why some of us are staying away from the political shows for some time, because it's just disheartening. We can do this for 5 years. Come on the show all the time complaining, giving ourselves high blood pressure for no good reason. Everybody's looking for outside, even the people who support this unity party, saying that what's going on is illegal and it's wrong. For Nabwe Kun to have cars sitting there already ready for who bought a car for him that nothing sent by everybody, sir. Or that the president already had it set for him. So we know the political game that's being played. And one last thing, it's precarious, I would say this, that every time something crazy is happening in that country, Joseph Boyka is out of the country, President Boyka is out of the country. Anytime something bad to go on, the yellow machine was in America. When we were trying to remove Fonati Kofa Kokwe, you're in Italy. When they install a guy, he's in Freetown. So the men know he's a kind of puppet that don't like anything that you point at him. He said, "Well, I'm in the country, I don't know what's going on. After all, I ain't I don't know what the fuck doing at behind my back." But he knew the plan before him. That's who he is. Thank you for taking my call. I just want to give you my 2 cents.
He was drinking for you. Liberal, Salomon said,
So you agree with him?
Say what? What is it?
I say you agree with Elvis?
Well, not necessarily everything, but pretty well, every have a very accurate and convincing point. I mean, there's no other way that to wait. And what would be interesting, let's see if it becomes a reality hearing and ultimately the Supreme Court decide, and Joseph Boyka, the Unity Party people will say, "Oh no, we're still doing it now." Then that's what we want to see. Because
what I suspect will happen, Mr. Soul.
Hold on one second. Hold on. Let the caller. You want to make a point before the caller?
No, go ahead.
Okay, let's take our caller here. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Sue and the panelists.
Okay.
I'm not a legal person, but I just called to ask one question. Are we driving into what happened in Sierra Leone? I think it was a few years ago, where the vice president was impeached. Is that Unity Party playbook that we are driving towards? The reason why I ask this question is because Kun contested against Fonati. He never won the election, and for me, it seems that we were forcibly pushed into the speaker position because we are Unity Party partisan, a long-standing one. Is it that they're going to find some means someday before the 6 years is over to impeach Jeremiah Kun and make Kun the next vice president? I'm just putting the word out there. Let's look at that.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, I'm a free thinker. Who knows? Maybe perhaps it's just a Boyka strategy. That's why he decided to go for consultation to Madabio. I started the first phase. What could be the advice for the second phase? And I said that here from day one. Joseph Boyka took Fonati Kofa, and the liberal know, I know, people that went there, that in fact, when Kofa wanted, so let me just get this out here, and I dare you liberals to say you want to protect Joseph Boyka here. I'm saying here now, Terry, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay. When this whole thing was happening, the speaker brought this to the attention to the president. Mr. President, this is what is happening. The speaker immediately, and this was validated by one of the representative, I said that here, who called the speaker. And the speaker, that one of the reasons some of them defected, that because the speaker downplayed it, because Joseph Boyka has assured him that nothing gonna happen. And you know, I know in our African setting culture, when the president said, don't do this, it's gonna be okay, obviously it's gonna be okay. And two, Joseph Boyka feels it was gonna be bad in the eyes of the diplomat, foreign country. The president traveled with the speaker, and there's a political mutiny, and the speaker immediately returns, and the president stays. How does the government explain such a thing? Therefore, you don't need to hold your forehead. I'm saying what is right, and you know what I'm saying is right. It was on the basis of that. I'm just telling you. Maybe I've not gone to that far. Just telling you.
You were there. You were in Italy when they were having. You were there.
Let me play the conversation.
No, but wait a minute.
Let me play the conversation. We were on the phone. We were on the phone, and they were saying that. Let's play the conversation.
Mr. So.
Let me play it.
Let's go back to the caller. What we got to play conversation for? Let's go to the caller.
Let's play the conversation for the benefit of the
Exactly.
The liberal wants to protect his own man, you know? Yeah, no, seriously. So the papa, he gave Konaf Fanati complete calope because he could return and use that time to play a game, but he relied, said, okay, I mean, it could be me too, it could be you when the president said, hey, don't worry. When the president said, don't worry, probably he would have told his people to stand down. But I think ultimately it's going to be.
Let me just say this here without me going into what you're discussing here because I have no knowledge on that. But let me just say this here.
Let me play it.
No, Mr. So let me say this here.
Why you don't want me to play?
Now, liquor talk. Let me go ahead and say on a very serious note. President Baka is becoming tied or being known for certain activities during the campaign. He came here during the CPP, COP or CUP, whatever they call themselves. He told people when he get back home, things are going to be settled. He said, we are not into a conflict. We are brothers and sisters. Whatever issue, that's when he used the word about nail. When you put nail on the plank, and that plank you take it out, the whole of that nail remain in there. So it's difficult for you to cover the hole. He also, when you listen to what's his name, Costa complained bitterly that whenever he said he's going to do something to ease out certain tension, he doesn't carry it out. We heard, and I'm just saying these things. We heard, what's his name? Please, the guy from Kirosburg, what's his name? Bernard Ure. He said President Baka told him, if the devil gonna make me president, I will dance with the devil. Now those things, no, that's what what's his name told us. What's his name? Bernard Ure said that, and yeah. He said that about Prince Johnson and President Baka. So if these things little by little start drip, it's difficult for you to maintain some serious credibility. Your credibility, we'll do what we can here to defend, but when time comes for us to be honest, we will be honest. These are very concerning character trait that people are talking about the president. Now, I don't have no proof. I've never met with this president. He doesn't know who I am. I don't know him, so I cannot validate whatever they're saying. I'm just saying if these things are true, then some of us will start looking start looking at this thing here from the second line or whatever you want to call it.
When will you start looking at it for the third time? After outlining all of these things that you know they are true, so when you want to start looking at it,
Mr. So, human character It's not built overnight.
Is it true
Mr.
that he said he was going to fix the CPP and all of that, and
Maybe
nothing?
when he got back to like brother, something happened that was not the opportunity might not have been there.
Oh, Papi,
Mr. So, one thing I know for sure is that there is no information that major.
okay. Somebody saying no business as usual, right? Terry Akami, did he use that word? No business as usual? Liberal.
Mr. So, let's talk about the current situation.
So, Mr. Sawyer, is that there is no information.
I don't know why you want to tie me like this here. Eh?
There is no major information that go on in the country that the president is not aware of. That's why most people can say the Bible says, do not gossip about the king in your bedroom, because even the birds will carry the news. When a man become president, Mr. So, I have served in leadership position for many years in many different areas of ministry. There is nothing that happen in the ministry, even if a member gossip the pastor, that it will not reach to the pastor. Any leadership position, those who are in leadership position knows what I'm talking. You, Mr. So, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
I used to talk bad about him when you were president. He used to reach you all the time.
You see, any information that go on the water, it will reach to you. So the president is aware of every major, whether coup d'etat or data going on in the country. He got too many people to give him information. He's not lacking information at all. The thing I understand here is that it was a political move. But this political move could not have happened with all the joint venture of the CDC group. So with all the Tabata, they talking, oh yeah, did that. This particular political coup could not have happened with all the acquaintances of the seditions.
That's
You know. So if they say, oh, because take for example, up to now, I only saw a press release from the youth of the Unity Party congratulating right after the court sent out stuff. They congratulated Rachel Kuhn. That's the only position statement press release that I saw from Unity Party. The party itself have not made a position statement on the matter as regarding whether and that is a great political step. They're not fast to make a decision because they want to wait to see the reaction from the public. Reaction.
The situation is a volatile one.
Huh?
I said there's too much uncertainty. It's volatile, so that's why they're not saying anything.
Yeah, but the youth have congratulated Rachel Kuhn, but they are waiting to see whether if the majority black that have carried on this thing is going to maintain the ground and agree that this is the speaker we have. Once they do that and sustain what they have accomplished for the next 2 to 3 weeks, I'm telling you, Honorable Kofa is history.
No,
you know.
Terry, this is what I'm going to say on it. Kofa, from the time when Kofa decided to challenge these people, when he saw, at first, he was comfortable, believing that he was going to stay. But from the day Thomas Father left, Kofa had resigned himself that he's no longer going to be speaker. And let me tell you this here. When Kofa took this position, things that were happening, even if these people have not started this thing, Kofa was not going to finish his term. Most likely, Kofa would have resigned. Yes, they think. Like I said, Kofa is a friend. I haven't talked to him, but we have common friends. And we talk to the common friend from time to time. Kofa was going broke. People from the legislature were asking Kofa, can you get me this? And they were not asking for small money. They were not asking for small money. And he looked at it and said, but wait a minute. I'm here to serve the people and I'm going broke for what? What am I getting out of this? So Kofa would not have stayed. If people have not started, I don't think Kofa would have finished his term. So right now, the point here, what Kofa is doing right now is standing out for the rule. If these people, here's another thing here. And those of you that are defending the majority of black, and this is what I have for you guys.
I'm not defending majority black.
Okay, all right. Majority black, they wanted Kufuor to come to their office, to whatever they are, and then they were going to submit their petition. But they were afraid that if Kufuor had gone there, Kufuor would have still remained speaker by going there. And they were going to sit on a Kufuor gavel. And Kufuor will have the power, according to their rule, to assign committee member to investigate this thing. Whether people, and they didn't want to do that. When other people suggested, they sent without even all of them agreeing. They sent word straight to Kufuor. And when they realized, no, it didn't make Kaya were done, they started playing each other. Before you know, they canceled that order. So they are not sincere either. So the point here for me is this. It's not about Kufuor staying anymore. But this thing have to stop, Terry.
I agree.
We cannot say we fought war for 14, 15 years and people say, oh, I don't want to sit under your gavel anymore. You're gonna have to move. No, there are rules. You want to remove me, get a 49 and take me out. That's fine. And I bet you, if these people were to say, okay, tomorrow or Monday or whatever, Tuesday, they say, you know what, we're going to Flanty Kufuor and we're going to submit it, they will get the 49. Flanty Kufuor most likely will encourage some of his supporters to go get the 49. So he will be removed.
What I think is that the best way out of this thing, even if Kufuor stay on or resign, they have to repeal that law, the constitution, and the rules. They have to be able to repeal some of the rules in the laws to strengthen the position of the legislature. The constitution is not clear is not explaining in details.
But you cannot change the constitution without amending and without going to
referendum.
Exactly. So the
constitution. It doesn't matter. It's not bad. We can take a referendum.
No, you don't have the money. You don't have the
money. They're not over 19.
But then how you expect the country to get better?
Money they doesn't want to do it because these laws, these current laws, favor them. It allows them to do bad things.
No, Mr. So you're here to reply. We're not here to reply. What I think most likely
you want me to say things that you want to hear?
Mr. So let's stay on the subject matter, please. Terry, what I think any other speaker that will come to power, if I were one of those speakers, it's not Richard Kuhn. Richard Kuhn too Abu for power. He too Abu for the job. You know what I mean? Abu, right? Abu Kere. You know what Abu is, right? Do you understand that real broad street language?
English.
Abu. Then Abu English. Yeah. Okay. So I'm not talking about Richard Kuhn. He too Abu. But any other person that will come to power, your supporters, people must ask you to lead. Don't spend money to lead. If you spend money to lead, you get problems like this. Let the people come to you to say, we want you to lead us. When they come to you, you will tell them, okay, these are some of the problems we have. Let's straighten our rules. And you will have people, those rules will be changed. They themselves don't want to go through this.
Labor, it don't work like that in the House of Representatives.
Then we got problem.
That is why we have problem. But take for example, you saw Musa Belete. Musa Belete went on Spoon Talk and said that any vacancy in the midst of this crisis, he was asked, and he said any opportunity create itself for him to run to be speaker, he would take it.
And he would not have any kinds of gabble. The gabble will not rule around.
But I think he has to have a second thought, because not to interrupt you, I think he has had a second thought. One of the person who, if they were Abu Kiri, whatever he were, Musa Bele who have gone on that side and he would have been awarded something special like committee, because he wanted that position. And at the end of the day, Kufuor persuaded him, and he ended up giving it away because he was deputy. But here, what I'm going to say, what the liberals say, that is quite true. But what Kufuor is trying to do here is to set some standards that the rules of law must be respected, honored. That's the only way you can have a decent society. and no one should be above the law. We saw that happening before our very eyes here. The former president, just before he could get this one, it is only because of this now and immediately and blah 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 gonna go. But we saw him how he was, going to court and all of that. Can you easily have that? Now, this is something Joseph Boyka, his legacy will come into question.
President Nene again?
He is the one we got to call. He is the chief instigator of this thing. And I said that here for day one. He was he had the authority. Listen, he has the authority to stop the thing. The old man took the speaker. The speaker, with his good kindness, decided to join him to the Vatican, and he initiated a sort of political insurrection to remove the speaker, encourage the speaker not to come back. That was still insufficient. He could have told his people from the Unity Party, but CDC, there are other people from different planet Earth because they were taking off the eye. They see Kofa to be a potential threat for 2029. He joined.
Let me make my closing.
Yeah. You want to go? Yeah, because this is what you do. You don't like to hear the truth, and we'll tell you. You can go to bed. You want to go? You can go buy a turkey now. So Terry, here we are on the other end. We're having fun time. You have the number three person in government. If for God,
but we are in CNAP. We know we are in CNAP. You know that we are in CNAP.
When you come to we are, then you take energy.
We call it the Termasis edition. Yeah, coming for you.
And he was just all over the place. That now he came back after the damage is being done, and then he said he's going to do this. So the sedition, Kofa. He was fighting so many fronts. The Unity Party.
Did you say he was?
They don't know about Unity Party.
Did you say he was, CEO? Did you say he was?
Yeah, of course you can use that.
The truth.
I thought you could see already, but I think the man still fighting.
Kofa is not going to be speaker.
Kofa is not. Kofa will ultimately maybe he will let it go. But then what he's going to do now, he tried to build some sort of he will be seen as the victim because people from the higher up, and we saw that. But you're quite correct, Terry. It's all political. And part of that is the president deliberately had to strangulate the speaker by sending the budget to those people that were sitting down to the hotel. That is it. And Joseph Boyka always tries to remove himself from chaotic situation that he initiated, he created. What he decided to do, forcibly he decided to go salon, to go stay down, so that at the end of the day, we can't share blame. But we all know, if the president doesn't favor this thing, Rete Kun will not have the bravery to go put his left hand up to be inducted into
Why you guys keep saying that the man left hand? But it's not proven because there is no way that, because when you're on the screen, you take picture. Obviously, the hand that's
where your right hand, okay, but
when I'm facing you, it look left.
Yeah, but when you're facing me, it's still right. We got know that right. Your right is my left. My right is your left.
Look at it, man. Look at it, man. Look at the opposite of your
right hand there.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, I don't know, but it depends on the position of the camera. It's possible that the man will be but I come in now, the sergeant or arm.
So you didn't see the
presiding speaker, the person who even gave the man the power to swear on. They don't know that the man's supposed to use a right hand.
Okay.
So the man who want to be the number 10 person when the president can make it, the vice president can make it, you will take the country. He doesn't know that.
But Mr.
God doesn't like ugliness. God doesn't like ugliness.
Can I say something? You were saying something earlier about the Papa took away the speaker to what they play to the Pope and all that. We will not continue to go with that scenario. Why? Because the people were prevented from going to have a quorum that day when the speaker was not here. They were prevented by the speakers.
But if the speaker have gotten on the plane the next day, the situation would not have been like that.
No, it will stay. The people.
Terry, what we're saying, that come and go. I am saying, and what people, lawmakers, some of whom defected, left the speaker because they said they called the speaker. What was going on for the speaker to return? It was this old man who told the speaker that will look bad.
Let me make my closing. Let me make my old man business. You can't. He's the president. His excellency. Let me make my closing.
Remember your old man. You follow the nation. They follow the nation.
Here we go. Thank you. If you continue to use that follow the nation, I will have no issue with you whatsoever. But let me just say this here.
Father of the chaos.
Oh, I will have issue with you. But let me just say this here. If this thing stand, Terry, if Franti Kofa, which is going to happen now, but if it stand, Franti Kofa becomes number 2 on president we are, and they're gonna retake the executive marshal.
Well, again, you are a political guru. I cannot I cannot.
Because they're making Franti Kofa this situation. Franti Kofa name in a country is well known now.
Yeah, this has propelled him to another level.
The name recognition in Liberia. Franti Kofa is well known than Alexander Coming right now.
Right. Oh. And what happening now is giving him popularity.
Of course.
And people,
sympathy.
Yes. Liberians are sympathetic people.
So listen to this.
That analysis is clever.
President we are.
Is a clever analysis.
President, we are still have more than almost 80 to 90% popularity.
Here is why it's not possible.
Why?
It's not possible because according to the Constitution, 2 persons from the same town cannot run on a ticket.
Why make it because Kofa say from South Town?
Except if Kofa go and
the man say from South Town, he even know how to do the South Town dance. Then he say that big man.
They can't make it.
Kofa was born right at maternity center. How you say he from South Town? He got birth certificate.
But where the man is representing his.
Yeah, he representing.
It doesn't matter.
Because I want a parent.
You're who talking about the rule of law? That you're talking like this?
No, but what we're saying here, the representative.
What president we have say he come from? President we have say from Ghana.
What? President we have will say. So Ghana make me president in Liberia.
Liberal,
do put your mouth You're doing very excellent.
We're not talking about president right now.
So boycott from Sierra Leone.
No, Mr. So don't ask that kind of question.
But your analysis can hold. For Franti Kofa can say he from so and so in Grand Coup County, it's possible. But what I'm saying is that with the world know already that they both of them from the same place, is not going to be admissible and all of that. And
President we got American passport. President we got French passport. President we got Italian passport. He's still president.
But where the county he's from, it all got to be inserted.
When
you go to the history, you go to the history of the candidate, the presidential candidate of Liberia. You will see all his biography. Everything is there. You likewise for Franti Kofa, his biography, everything. So can you change that? You can't change it. And based upon that was what we're saying. It's not going to be possible for Franti to go as running mate to president. We are 2029.
Okay. So this is where the uncertainty came into place because first of all, the sedition, they don't see him as an authentic, genuine sedition, grassroots sedition. So I call them
terrorizing sedition anyway.
They don't trust him because he seems to be, the face or all of that he can transform CDC to be a real political party that have a political ideology. But our party that they don't have.
Oh, your party, your CDC. Terry, you our party, you
No, I'm talking about the political parties in Nigeria.
No. He said our party.
So why you
Liberia? We don't have party in the, of course I had a side.
You got CDC as your party. That's what we've been saying here. That you don't want to CDC, but tonight you told you CDC.
Whatever way you want to treat the case, I'm saying our political party, they don't have
which one? Our political party. I thought you said you are independent person. I thought you say you are free.
We accept these. We accept
so
these.
So how can you got our political party now?
He's talking about in general as
Liberia. Terry, don't help the man. Hey, I'm trying to tell you something. You helping him.
You want tell me. You already. There's no way that you can tell me. I'm just only telling you. The political parties in Liberia, they don't have any they don't have. If you look at Republican, there are certain things they believe in. They see that as a core value of that institutions at all costs to protect. You ask edition now, they just say, "Oh, joy we are." Joseph Boyka said we're talking about right now. Is there any plan now that he prepare a unity party to be the next phase? Helen Johnson said they didn't do it. Samuel Doe didn't do it. All of these parties they didn't do it. They just all about themselves. They do not.
One thing I respect the vice president.
What?
One thing I respect the vice president on what your statement you're making, which is quite correct. But the vice president is being forceful to be recognized by the Unity Party, Party C, and any other people that are working within the government that he is the vice president. And you can't do anything past that. And I like that. I like that out of him because he's really telling them, don't look over my head. I am the vice president.
Have a beautiful Sunday.
Mr. So let me make my closing. It's a wonderful, wonderful Sunday afternoon. Thank you for the show. And please join us Monday, where Terry and I gonna have this conversation. And there will be some because we will not allow you to come join us again, try to pull. No, Mr. So you stay on your side now. We'll stay on our side too.
Oh, that's a divide. You want to have a divided? You for me, you own a majority black on this network. You will not survive. I tell you right now. Another majority black one.
Jerry Bacco, Mr. Jerry Bacco.
That one. I want that case training. That one he reported to him.
Jerry will be our new how do you call it? New CEO.
Jerry tell something so to raise his two hands in the air so that we will not know which is which. And we'll talk about left hand. He said, but the right hand will
I couldn't believe Richard Kuhn put his left hand up.
That guy is a corrupt.
I couldn't understand what were in there. They were confused.
The one I said, Abu Keri.
The whole other thing what Fanati brought to town that we get audited probably, or the people don't want to be audited at all. And I'm just waiting because there's a guy here. There's a case against the very Tomo Fala in that report that is coming, not Fala alone, Emmanuel Doko. Those guys do not want that thing to surface. But I don't care what you do, whether Kofa stays there or not, they will come out. All right, let's get a closing statement, Terry.
Yeah, so I think this is a learning curve, like what Labor said, for everybody in the country, including we in the diaspora. But my advice to the majority black is that the court ruling is very important to uphold and to maintain. And all of that. But when they decide to maintain the leadership of Kuhn,
that one I was signed a dubious concession and then
when they decide to maintain the leadership of Kuhn, then it means that they have to tell us what they are going to do different from Fonati Kofa. Because like what Labor said, the only option for Fonati is that, like, you see what happened to Dawes Didon? Dawes Didon became senator today because of the sympathy that people have for Kabina Jane. When Kabina Jane went to that thing, Dawes Didon was one of those who said the way the court were proceeding was wrong, which means that our court can also be in error. That was the Supreme Court, the court from the ECOWAS interpreted and told them that the procedure to remove the justice was unfair and not in alignment with law. And right after that thing happened when they removed Kabina Jane, the High Council President, we are recommend CNNU to become the Chief Justice for the court. That is why she's there today. And we must not forget, even though I like her, she's good, but we must not also forget that she was recommended to be our Chief Justice by the former president. So there is some way somehow loyalty will prevail from the previous administration. And that is why I want to believe that most of the president broadcast agendas are being stalled. They cited when they were dealing with the issue of Gloria Musu Scott, they call or the case, they pulled the case up of the asset recovery case. That was a presidential order. The president, how you call it? Executive order. Today, the court have suppressed that executive order to an extent that the executive order time is going up. They went into recess. Now they have resumed the court, and they have still not cited the case to adjudicate on the assets recovery. That alone sends a lot of information. And if the judiciary, and she also have removed somebody from on the bench, she moved some, she took her action. So can we say that the court is not credible? That's why we're looking at one of the representatives that posted it. So can we trust the court to make judgment on the saga that is going on in the legislature and all of that? And I think the rate of prohibition to status quo ante is not in the right procedure or confine of the court perspective. But I also believe that Funati Kofa, whether he loses or win, and if he loses, his momentum that will prepare him for 2029 will go high, skyrocketing, because the what Labour said, there will be sympathy. But the only way he will be able to win, he have to go alone, and he have to go maybe as a center bearer of the CDC. But with President, we are allowing him to be the center bearer of CDC. I doubt it. Thank you for the show.
No, we are the very seditions. Seditions, from all evidence from what we are seeing, he's been totally rejected because they feel he's not a real sedition. I've never seen this before, where maybe one or two, but to see that drove of people to remove their own speaker. That is
Terry, I think you struck a good point here, and I'll be ridiculous on this one here as well. I think if these people go to court on Tuesday, Vani Sharma most likely will bring laughter to the court by making the court to look ridiculous and telling the court, how do you expect us to trust you? Isn't it the same? And listen now, Kabila Janin representing Flandikofa. Isn't this is the same court,
right,
that allow us to remove a sitting justice? And this court will overrule. Your court will overrule by ECOWA court. It means you are not credible. And yet you come with this court, what's his name, NT court, whatever the name is, status quo NT.
Yeah.
And you know you're not supposed. Vani Sharma might bring these things up and get the court members to be upset and perhaps make some ridiculous ruling because they're Liberians, and make some ridiculous ruling that people will start ridiculing them. So this is it's not finished yet. It's not finished. Because
even in recent time, they even let Samuel Twe, they went against the government for certain bill. I think the government wanted to something, and Samuel Twe walking, he's jumping all over the place, and they're happy about it.
Yes.
So there are so many errors that the court is making that people are not seeing them to not be credible. But again, that is Liberia for you.
Thank you, Mr. Soul.
Okay.
Join us tomorrow, and we'll have a wonderful, wonderful show, of course.
There are too much uncertainty. We don't know what tomorrow going to bring inside Liberia, but I know something on live stream going to come again. It's going to be another night. Okay, guys. Senator Collins, happy Sunday. The Liberal Progressive. I will be the Thanksgiving. I'll be in your town. Okay.
What are you coming here for? What are you coming for?
I said I'm coming to visit you. Where are you coming for?
I'm moving.
Oh, you want a man to partake on a turkey?
Then you stay right. You hear me now? I buying turkey on the same day. Now you coming running? No. That turkey, that one man turkey.
Oh,
yeah.
The way the American turkey huge, I already buy my own in a
And I
few.
come, you bring every Saturday you eat good, you stay the same something told you hear that Thanksgiving turkey, what we're gonna do to you. Good night. Bye-bye.
You're welcome, Mr. So. Anytime, welcome.
All right. Okay,
All right.
folks. All right, bye. So, folks, that's how we're going to end here. Let's watch some of these clips here. And I think this is what Kofa is arguing about. I will watch some of them here again before we go.
Is proud to strongly support Kevin McCarthy as Speaker of the House. I yield back.
Gentleman from Florida. I would just say if this House of Representatives has exceeded all expectations, then we definitely need higher expectations. And while it's heartwarming and kind that the Speaker calls people on their birthday and visits their district and congratulates them on their children, please know this isn't a critique of the individual, it's a critique of the job. The job hasn't been done. We've had multiple contradictory promises, and it's just quite something. For those of you keeping track at home, the last 3 speakers you've heard opposing my resolution all voted for the debt deal. So, like, if you believe that the debt limit deal that Speaker McCarthy brought into law was a good thing, maybe you agree with their perspective. I think the debt limit deal was a terrible deal, and that's one of the reasons. It really was the original sin of the McCarthy speakership, and it's one of the reasons I seek to vacate the chair now. I reserve.
Gentleman, time is reserved. Gentleman from Oklahoma, Mr. Cole.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I yield 2 minutes to my very good friend from the great state of Louisiana, Mr. Graves.
Gentleman from Louisiana, Mr. Graves, is recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to thank the gentleman from Oklahoma for yielding. Mr. Speaker, we've been here for 8 months with one of the tightest majorities in modern history. Yet look at the accomplishments of this majority, this conservative majority, with the majority of Republicans voting for the strongest border security in my lifetime, fighting against this incomprehensible energy policy that's driving up energy costs 40%, utility and gasoline payments, pushing Americans into energy poverty. We passed legislation to unleash America's energy resources, pushing back this administration's brainless policies on energy. We've passed legislation to pull back, to stop spending $4.8 trillion that I want to make note. My friends that are carrying this motion to vacate opposed. We've passed legislation to streamline regulations, permitting, environmental laws for the first time in 40 years. Again, my friends here opposed. We strengthened work requirements for welfare to get people back into the workforce. Again, my friends over here opposed. I keep wondering, what is going on? Are we redefining what conservative is? What's going on in this country today? What's going on in this body? Where you have Freedom Works, Heritage, Chip Roy, and Jim Jordan say something's conservative, and these folks say it's not, and they're right. And all of a sudden, my phone keeps sending text messages. Text messages saying, hey, give me money. Oh, look at that. Oh, look, give me money. I filed the motion to vacate. Using official actions to raise money. It's disgusting. It's what's disgusting about Washington.
Okay, there you see that. This is what we are calling for. This is what we are pleading for. That why it is true, it is their right to get this done. It is important that the due process factor in. And to conclude, this due process is not just only by resolutions. Resolutions is just a little minimum portion of it, but a vote of yea or nay should be accorded by all members and not one faction to stay somewhere and go. And this was a final conclusion after all sides were heard for them to remove the speaker. Let's listen a little bit.
For those asking, by the way, we still have a number of Republicans who are hostile to Kevin McCarthy. Kevin McCarthy at this point needs a Democrat to defect to support him. Highly unlikely that's going to happen unless you want to become a pariah in the Democratic caucus. But he needs some type of Democrats to come forward and support him. Otherwise, he's lost this vote and he is going to lose his speaker's gavel. What we could expect to see at this point afterwards is that when there is a new vote, Democrats will all be united in voting for Hakeem Jeffries. Republicans will bring up a whole parade of terribles and figure out who their next speaker is going to be.
Jackson of Texas, nay. Jackson Lee, yay. Jacobs, yay. James, nay. Jayapal, yay. Jeffries, yay. Johnson of Georgia, yay.
Okay.
Johnson of Louisiana, nay.
Okay, we just want to be a little bit illustrative there. That's the chief clerk there. All of the members are seated. They are in chambers. No one person, two persons stay into a hotel and just rush somebody in and just says, another guy, put your left hand up and you become speaker. It doesn't work like that. The laws of the land must be respected. People who wanted him, people who oppose him, people who favor him, they argue, and all of their argument is based on their political ideology, something that they believe, the values of the Republican Party and all of that. That's what they believe in. Ultimately, at the end of the day, it was perfected into action to verify that indeed Mr. A, Mr. B voted. The chief clerk presided over that process, at which time the speaker has recused himself because he was more or less the center of gravity of the conversation, and the vote took place. And that was in 2023, the 3rd of October, and I believe that vote 216 to 210. So what was needed to remove the speaker was done. So we are saying, according to the due process as well to the law. And so when the court is speaking in that term, the court is saying the process is itself, in as much someone was introduced on the floor by the deputy speaker, which shouldn't have been that way. It should have been presided over the chief clerk, and to allow the guy to put his left hand up, that alone was a fraudulent process. And that's why the Supreme Court is telling them to return to that status. And we hope that will be done, because we do not want our country to be a lawless country where any group of people put themselves together in good number. The next day say, oh, President stepped down. Oh, we don't want a protest. Who knows? That's how trouble starts. And if it is not addressed, it grows and it creeps into the system, and it becomes very difficult to root it out. So be mindful what you wish for. Another group can call themselves majority black, and the next day they go sit down to form into a hotel and be coming in and out and say they do not want you. You must step aside or they will remove you. Yes, you have the right to remove people, but there must be accorded a due process of the law. Until then, I'm Alfonso Z. and Sort of the Liberal Public Radio and LPR-TV. This is The Examiner. Thank you and have a pleasant evening. Bye-bye.